Hello, and welcome to the Onfleet General Operations Training. Today, we'll be giving you an overview on how to get started running your operations within the Onfleet dashboard. If you haven't already, I do recommend watching the Onfleet admin webinar first, as that will review configuring and setting up your dashboard. Today, we're going to be touching on the agenda, which is dashboard orientation. You'll get comfortable with logging in and getting used to the tabbed interface of the dashboard. Then we'll review how to use the filters and search options, as well as Onfleet chat. From there, we'll talk how to create tasks within Onfleet, how to assign those tasks through route optimization and auto assignment, and then wrap up with discussing the Onfleet driver app. All right, and as you'll see, when you log into your Onfleet dashboard, it may not look exactly the same as my dashboard looks here today, as I have preloaded some information in there, but hopefully you'll be able to get up and running and have lots of tasks, drivers, and dispatchers all running seamlessly throughout your dashboard. So when you first log in, you'll notice that you'll be taken to our map view. The map view is a great way to view your tasks in a geospatial way. So here you'll be able to see where they land within a map. From the map here, you also will notice that these pins can be different colors. Now, the map pins are representative of a unit of work, which is either a pickup or a drop-off within Onfleet. Any tasks that are gray are going to belong in the unassigned category, which means that they need to be assigned to a driver to execute on. You'll also see some purple tasks, which are meaning that they have been assigned to a driver. Blue pin markers mean that the driver is in transit and actively working on that task. Green tasks mean the driver has successfully completed that task. And a red task just means that the driver has failed to complete that task for whatever reason. Now, within the map view, you'll notice you can actually toggle what kind of map you want to look at. For example, you could view the map at a satellite view. You can also include a traffic overlay. Now, this is going to take the historical traffic data for an area and show you where the most congested spaces are. You can also search for a specific place on the map, maybe an address if you would like to create a task there. And zoom in and zoom out features as well. All right. Also within the map view, you'll notice our sidebar. The sidebar is going to take all of the information that's on the map and categorize it in these various buckets. So starting with the unassigned bucket here. This is going to hold all of our unassigned tasks that have not yet been assigned to drivers. And below it, you'll find our various teams. As a reminder, a team is just a way to group your drivers, dispatchers, and hub location. And below your teams, if we expand these out, you'll be able to see each of your individual drivers. You'll notice that I actually have a driver that's online and available for today, and a couple of drivers that are offline as well. Right. From the sidebar, you can also see our search functionality. Search is going to use the past 30-day information to look for any historical data that you might be searching for. So if I have a customer named Leah that calls in, I can use the search function to search for Leah and find that I have 2 recipients as well as 2 tasks that are associated with Leah. If I open up this task here, I'll be taken to what we call our task details screen. The task details shows us who the task was assigned to, if it has been assigned, the recipient information, destination information, as well as some other extra information that you can include upon task creation. If I scroll down, I can see an exact timeline of this task, as well as a signature or any photos of delivery that were captured by the driver. You'll notice down here that I can also view the route that the driver took to complete this task. Right, so that is our search feature there. Another way to organize your sidebar is from this button down here. You can assort your unassigned tasks by any of these options right here. All right. Now let's move to the bottom of our screen to talk a little bit about our filters. Our filters are how we can really hone in on specific types of information from our dashboard. You'll notice that we always show you real-time and up-to-date information. So if you refresh your dashboard or log in for the first time, you'll notice you'll always be taken to the current date to view real-time info. You can always use this filter to move ahead to look at future orders, or even go backwards to look to see what was completed on a specific day. You can also filter out specific teams. As you scale, you might have multiple teams, and dispatchers can belong to multiple teams. As a dispatcher, you might only want to view drivers and tasks associated with a certain team, for example, Team X. So you could potentially filter out those other teams to really focus in on that specific group. You can also filter out specific drivers. If you want to remove your offline drivers to only focus on your in-transit and idle drivers, you could do that here. Or even filter out any of these different tasks that fall within any of these statuses. There's also the ability to show tasks that are delayed by a certain number of times. So if you want to see all tasks that are delayed by only 15 minutes, you can do so from here. And if you are a larger organization that is utilizing our connections feature, you can also filter out connections. So for this example, I'm only looking at orders specific to Taylor's Treats. Once you're ready to apply these filters, you'll hit the apply button, and you can always go back and reset those filters at a later time too. Right. Wrapping up our map view here, let's talk about the Onfleet chat. So this is found on the left-hand side of your dashboard. This is going to be how you can communicate internally to your teams that are working within Onfleet. So our drivers, dispatchers, and admins. You can start a conversation with any of these contacts. For example, I'll choose driver Taylor. I know Taylor is online because of this green ring around her icon here. And once I'm ready to start a chat, I can start typing a message. I can upload a voice memo or even send a chat attachment. At this point, she will then get notified in her Onfleet driver app that she has a new chat. You can also start group messages. So if I want to start a group message with two of my dispatchers here, I can select them both. And the same thing, I can send them any messages, include any voice memos, or include any attachments. With group messages, you can rename them. So if I want to call this my team leads, I can go ahead and select that, and of course, edit it and add any other users if necessary. The nice part about the Onfleet chat is it does cut down on some back and forth so that your drivers are not having to switch between iMessage, WhatsApp, any other messenger apps. They can stay working within the Onfleet app for safer driving on the road. All right, let's move along to our table view. The table view is going to show you the same information as from the map view, just laid out in this lovely table here. The table view is going to be very helpful for taking any sort of bulk actions on tasks. From here, I can change the assignment of tasks. I can auto-assign, unassign. I can assign to a specific team or even to specific drivers. I can also change the completion time. You'll notice I do have some delivery windows on here. So if I need to change the dates and times, I can do so in a bulk fashion from the table view. I can also delete tasks from here as well. Moving over to the right-hand side here, you'll notice our find option. Slightly different from search because it's not going to grab historical data, but it will find any information you search for in this table. For example, if I want to find an order specific to somebody named Tyler, this will show me Tyler's tasks. I can hit this button here and be taken to the task details screen. Another great feature about the table view is the fact that it is so customizable. You can use that button there to add or remove specific columns. Once you have the columns that you want to view, you can also move these around. So if you care more about the recipient information, we can move this delayed further down the list. as well as the status, we can move that closer up. So you can really customize it and tailor it to view only the information that you care about. Okay, moving right along to our Analyze tab. The Analyze tab is going to give you a high-level overview of how your delivery operations are going. So from here, you can pick a specific date range. You can even filter down by specific teams or drivers. From the side here, you'll see a couple of different metrics, such as completed tasks. So we can see successful versus failed tasks, delayed task. We also have service time. Service time is going to be the amount of time that your driver spends on location completing a delivery. During this time, they might be finding parking or taking a photo of delivery, and sometimes this can take a couple of minutes. We do track this metric for you, and it is something that can be utilized within route optimization as well as a specific task level service time. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I just want to notify you that this is something that we do track for you. You'll notice task by type, task feedback if you have that enabled, as well as distance and time per task. Now, down in the bottom left here, you can also group this information, maybe even by specific driver. You can see what their service time is, how many tasks they've completed. And at this point too, you can also export this information as a CSV. If you ever want raw data about your tasks, up at the top right here, we do have an export feature. So this export will give you lots of information depending on what you're looking for. So completed tasks, you can search for a specific date range and include either all teams or specific teams to export. All right, fantastic. So now that we're comfortable with the dashboard, let's talk about how to create tasks. There are three primary ways, the first being the more automated route. Onfleet does have an open API as well as multiple partners that we integrate with. If you're curious about how to automate this process, I do recommend you check out our support center, as well as reaching out to our support team, which is support@onfleet.com, if you do have any technical questions. Now, you don't have to automate this process. We do have some manual ways to create tasks, or maybe you just need to have a one-off task created in case of an emergency. What you'll want to do is go up to the top right-hand corner and hit this button here. You'll notice some required information as well as some optional information that you can include. So starting with the recipient's phone number. So this can be, you'll notice, optional if you choose to have no recipient. If this is a pickup, you won't have to fill anything out in this bucket, but let's choose to include some notes here. So this could be information about the recipient specifically, such as a VIP member. This will be visible to the driver when they do view that task within their driver app. Here, we can put any details about the task, such as an order number. And of course, we'll want a destination. We'll put this in San Francisco here. And if there are any destination notes, like take the second elevator or park in the back, you can include any of that information here. Now, down below, we do have some optional settings. For example, a delivery window. You can set a delivery window. Let's say we want to create this for tomorrow, and we know that this must be delivered before 5 p.m. And we can also set driver app requirements. So if you have a certain plan type that allows for you to set a minimum age or to include other information, you can do so just by checking this box. Now, the driver will not be able to successfully complete a task within their driver app without this information if you do set this requirement. Down below, we also have some route optimization settings. We mentioned service time before, so you can set this at a task level. So if maybe your pickups take a little bit longer because there's some loading that's involved, you could set service time to be higher for pickups as well as service time to be lower for deliveries. You'll also notice this quantity option. Upon the creation of drivers, you're able to set a capacity at a driver level. Now, the quantity on a task must match the same unit of measure as the capacity you defined. For example, let's say a driver can take 10 boxes. When creating this task, maybe we need to note that this is 2 boxes. When running route optimization, we're going to take that quantity and capacity and make sure that we don't overload your driver with too many deliveries. Now, this is an optional field. You could just leave it at 0 if this is not something you will be utilizing. Further down below, you'll also see that we can assign this directly to a driver or team. If we just want to create it and route it once we have all of our tasks for the day, you can just easily do so and hit Create Task. Now, if we move our filters, let's go over to tomorrow's date. We can see this task that we just created is right here. All right. Now, you may have a large group of tasks, and creating them one by one might not be the most efficient way. So to combat that, we have an import feature as well. So to import tasks, you're going to select this button here. And you'll notice that we only accept JSON, CSV, or Excel files to be imported. But we do also have a template that you could utilize. If you click this link here, you can download our template and fill it with information before you upload it in. Once you're ready to upload, you will choose your file. We'll go here and use this import. And the first time you do this, you're going to want to map your columns. So what I mean by that is you're going to want to tell Onfleet, where in my file can I find this information? I've already done this before, but I highly recommend just double checking. For example, this apartment field. We haven't mapped that within our file. Once everything looks good and you're ready to upload, you'll just import these tasks here. Now, as we geocode these locations, they might discover some issues or automatically update certain information for you. If there's anything that needs to be fixed, for example, if you've entered a date that's in the past, we'll also catch that information for you prior to creating those tasks. Depending on your file size too, this could take a few seconds, so don't be alarmed. And as we see here, I have some postal codes that need to be updated. The nice thing is that Onfleet will do that for me, and I can go ahead and continue and import these tasks in. Now, when this is working, you'll see that I've actually imported these tasks for tomorrow. So what we can see here is that before I leave for the day, I'm just making sure that everything has been created. So when tomorrow comes around, we can route all of our deliveries. Perfect. Once the import has completed, we can also schedule the import to repeat. If you have repeat deliveries, maybe this is something you want to do just to save time. All right. So we're done there. Now, if I double check to make sure my deliveries have all been uploaded, I can see that it looks great. Okay. So now that our tasks are within Onfleet, what we want to do is route these deliveries to our drivers. So there are 3 ways to do this. First being the manual way that we viewed. So if I select one task, you'll see that I can assign a task directly to a team or to a specific driver. If I want to assign this directly to task driver, this isn't necessarily going to put this task in any specific order or in an efficient manner. It's just going to assign it out to that driver. If you have a very low volume and you're just getting started, this might be the easy way to assign tasks. Now, if you have a lot of tasks that you need to route to multiple different drivers, and maybe you work on a scheduled delivery model where you know what deliveries need to happen for a specific date, I recommend using route optimization. So route optimization is our robust routing engine that's going to take into consideration delivery windows, delivery location, driver schedules, hub locations. It's very intelligent. So to run a route optimization, you're going to want to select a group of unassigned tasks. I'm just going to pick some of them for this optimization. And I'm going to right-click and hit Optimize. Now the optimization modal will pop up. We'll want to double check the date that we're optimizing for is correct. And then we'll move down and select our drivers to be included in the optimization. Now, just because we check to include our drivers doesn't necessarily mean all the drivers will be given tasks depending on the different constraints that you set below. For this example, I'm going to use 3 drivers here. For these 3 drivers, I can also set a schedule. I can do this directly from the pencil icon if their schedule changes day by day, maybe even week by week. Or I can set a default driver schedule. The default driver schedule will take this time frame you set here and apply it to all of your drivers, just as I have done here. Once you've done that, you'll move down to your optimization settings. The first setting is our maximum number of tasks per route. So this is the maximum number of tasks that could be assigned to a driver. Now, you can also use this constraint to adjust the distribution of tasks amongst drivers. If you think about it, the higher this number, the less drivers we may need to utilize. The lower this number, the more even distribution we might see of tasks among drivers. Because we have about 30 tasks, and I know my drivers can take about 14 deliveries per route, I'll set this here. Down below is our service time. You will note that this service time set here will not override any service times that are entered at a task level. If you don't want to set task level service times, you can set a global service time directly from route optimization. Down below here, we have our maximum allowed delay per task. If you're utilizing delivery windows, you can use this field to set a buffer in those delivery windows to allow for more tasks to be assigned to drivers. For example, if you have a high volume of tasks and you're trying to complete as many deliveries as possible within a specific time frame, you could allow for a 20-minute delay to see if that gets more tasks assigned out to those drivers. Now, if you have very strict delivery windows, you might not want to utilize this field. You could just put a 1 or choose one of the optimization modes that optimizes for arriving on time. All right. Down below here, we're going to want to choose where our routes start and end. We have 3 options. We can have our routes start from anywhere, the team's hub, or the driver's address. You'll see below here, we also do have our exact hub locations that we have created. So you could potentially start from one hub and end at another. You'll notice that you can't start from anywhere and end anywhere for your routes. There must be a central location on either side of the route. If you have your drivers start from a storefront, for example, and also return to that storefront at the end of the day, you could have a setup that looks like this. What you should expect here is that the routing will try to make a circular route. It's not necessarily going to have your drivers start and end exactly at that hub location. It's going to look at your tasks and try to use a task as closest to the hub to start the route, and then use another task that's very close to the hub to end their route. Down below, we finally pick our optimization mode. Now, this just tells Onfleet what you prioritize when routing. There are 3 options here. The first being minimize distance driven. If you pay your drivers by the mile and maybe you don't have very strict delivery windows, you could use this option to really try to cut down on that distance when routing those deliveries. Then we have the flip side, which is always arrive on time. If you have very strict delivery windows, you might want to choose this option to make sure that your drivers are never arriving outside of those set windows. The balance option, it's going to try to find a balance between both arriving on time and minimizing the distance driven. If this is your first time running route optimization, I recommend testing out a few of these options and seeing what solution makes the most sense for your organization. Once we've set these settings, you'll notice the next time you run route optimization, it will remember your selections for you. So you won't have to configure these again. You'll just want to include the drivers for that specific day. When you're ready to route, we'll hit proceed. You might see something like this, which is okay. I have a task that's assigned for driver Taylor for the requested optimization date. The reason why you don't want to run route optimization if you already have some tasks assigned to a driver is just because it might not be a completely efficient route. But if your driver works in shifts, maybe like my driver, and I have a morning shift and an evening shift, you might expect to see that, and that's okay. You can go ahead and proceed. Once you're ready to dispatch, you'll notice we have 31 tasks across 3 drivers. And while this is loading, it's taking all of that information I mentioned previously into account when figuring out the best solution for these routes. When it's done running, you'll notice each of our drivers has about even-ish distribution of tasks. You'll see the distance they'll be driving as well as the time on duty. Now, if you don't like something about the solution, you can always go back and edit your optimization selections. You can try a new optimization mode. You can try to adjust the maximum number of tasks per route. Once you get a solution that you like, you'll want to hit complete. At this point, it will go ahead and assign all of those routes out to our drivers. If I open up my Team X, we'll see driver Taylor's route here. We can see she has lots of tasks assigned to her down here. We've got our test driver that's been assigned routes, as well as our other drivers here. We'll show you an as the crow flies view of our tasks. Turn-by-turn directions will be given from the Onfleet driver app in their requested navigation app preference. So for example, Apple Maps or Google Maps. All right, so that is route optimization. Now, moving along, we might have some tasks that pop up throughout the day. What we can use to get those tasks assigned out to drivers is a tool called auto assignment. Auto assignment, again, is best used for on-demand deliveries. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at all of your active and online drivers and decide who should be assigned specific tasks, and will append that task to the end of their queue. For example, these 2 tasks here. If I right-click and auto assign, I will see this modal pop up. Now, auto assignment is available through the API, so you could have this running in the background automatically, or you can do it manually from the dashboard. At this point here, you'll choose to auto assign to either the driver that's closest to this new task's destination, or to the driver that currently has the shortest route. I'm going to pick shortest route. These advanced settings below allow you to set an assignment limit. If you have a large volume of tasks that are coming in, maybe you don't want any more than 8 tasks to be assigned to a driver per auto assignment. Ignoring linked tasks. This is an option you could turn on, but it might separate linked tasks to 2 different drivers. So depending on how your setup and organization functions, you might not want to check this box here unless it makes sense. When you're ready to assign, you can hit this button. You'll see that we've assigned these out. We can see that I've actually added them to Taylor's queue at the very bottom here. Because of delivery windows, it's telling me that I might experience some delays with these tasks. So at this point, I could do some manual intervention or have some other drivers go online to see if that will affect my results. All right. Now, once all the routing is done, as a dispatcher, you'll notice that you can monitor your deliveries using these flags here. Of course, we'll tell you when there's a delay of some sort by giving you these yellow flags and pins. You can also see when drivers are expected to arrive and complete deliveries. You'll see when the flag is pointing to the right, that shows you that this first delivery should be completed by 4:51 p.m. If I flip it, it will show me the ETA. So the service time is the difference between the estimated time of completion and the estimated time of arrival, which is that 10-minute time period. If you need to rearrange a route, Let's say our driver Garth has called in sick for the day, but we've already routed these deliveries to him. That's okay. What we can do is we can take all of these tasks on this route and highlight them and drag and drop to another driver. Driver Owen said he'll pick up driver Garth's slack, so we can just add that route. And when we expand this out, you'll see that Owen has his route as well as the 9 other tasks from Garth's route. All right. Once all routing has been done, we then will move over to the Onfleet driver app. Now, as a driver, they'll need to download the app. This is going to be reviewed within the admin setup and configuration. So please be sure to watch that webinar if you have not already set up your drivers. Now, as a driver, when they first log in, their first step, once they're ready to start completing their routes for the day, is to go online. I'm actually going to move my driver app over here so you can see. So to go online, they just toggle this button at the very top here, and they'll be able to see in order exactly where they'll need to be going. Now, before they get going, there are some settings I do recommend configuring. If you hit these 3 lines here, it's going to pop up and open the settings menu. They can see a task history. They need to review any of the tasks that they've completed. Then they can see their settings. From their settings, they can configure their full name, phone number, as well as their transportation type. Down below, we do have some advanced settings that I recommend turning on, setting whether they prefer their voice or sounds to come through when there are any notifications, for example, new tasks assigned or new messages. Auto advance to next task will automatically show them the next task up on their queue when they complete a task. Remind task completion will remind them that they do have some tasks that need to be completed. If your plan includes barcode scanning, you can also set the barcode scanning mode. And finally, the navigation preferences. We have many different options to choose from here, whether it's Apple Maps or Google Maps. This can be configured at a driver level. From this sidebar, you'll also see that we have a direct link to our support center, as well as a tutorial that can always be referenced. Going back to the main screen over here, of course, we have our driver's list of tasks. They can view tasks just for today, or if they want to view their tasks for all time. Just note, if they are looking at all of their tasks, it will potentially show them tasks for a future date. Down at the bottom here, we also have the ability to access driver analytics. These analytics can be configured to be a certain time period. And we'll also show them how many tasks they're completed, if they're on time, their mileage, and time on duty. This information is also accessible via the Analyze tab, which we reviewed earlier in the session. Moving over to our Onfleet chat, we can see the message sent by the admin earlier today. From here, you can say, hello. How are you? Any messages that you want. Of course, as a driver, you can also include a picture. When I send this, you'll see that there is a message that populates in the bottom, as well as a red dot and a noise if you do have your sound turned on. If I go back out as a driver, I can also initiate any messages if I need to. Okay. Now that we're ready to go, I can start completing my tasks. Now I can look at this from a list view, or potentially like a table view, or from a map, very similar to the Onfleet dashboard. I'll want to start from the top of my list. And when I open this up, I can see the address, I can see the recipient, as well as any other information that was included upon task creation. Once I'm ready to actively start working on a task, I'm going to hold to start. You'll notice on the dashboard, my driver has turned blue, as well as the task that the driver is working on has turned blue. So we know that they are in transit. At this point, the driver can also send any messages or call the recipient if anything comes up on the road. And if they need navigation directions, they can hit this button here, and it will take them automatically to their preferred navigation app. All right. Once they've arrived on location, they will tap to complete their task. Hopefully, this task has been completed successfully. You'll notice that there is a signature required in order to complete this task. The customer can sign it directly from the driver's phone, or if they're using contactless, they can use the contactless signature link set up through customer communications in your settings, and they can complete with success. The auto advance to next task will show us exactly what task we should be completing next, which is the one at 400 Grove Street. Let's do one more here, and we'll show you how to mark a task as failed. Let's say the driver has accidentally started this task, or maybe the recipient was not available. You might need to fail this task out here. We do have a couple of different reason codes for failed tasks. We'll choose recipient unavailable. We can put any notes about this task as well. We'll say, please reschedule, and we'll save. You'll notice that anything that's required won't need to be filled out in order to complete as a failure. And of course, we brought to our next task. Now, as a dispatcher, what do you do if there's a failed task? Well, if we open this up, we can see the timeline. So here we see that the task was created, assigned. We see that the driver actually started the task and left their note that the customer was not home and that we need to reschedule. Now, instead of going ahead and creating a brand new task, what you can do is use our clone feature. The clone button will open that task up for editing, allow you to change the dates. Say we need to move this to tomorrow, the same time. We can even assign it back to that specific driver or leave it unassigned for routing through route optimization the next day. At this point, if we go to our filters, we'll see that we have this new task created and moved over to the 17th. Perfect. So if I want to look for my 400 Grove Street, we can see previous tasks, and we can even see the recipient available for that one. All right. So that was our Onfleet driver app review. At this point in time, please feel free to chat in any questions that you may have. I'll be happy to answer anything that you have thought of while watching this presentation. If you do have more use case specific questions, I recommend visiting our support center, which is found at support.onfleet.com. You can search for anything that you might be looking for, and you can also email our support team at support@onfleet.com. They'll be able to help you with any technical questions or if you have questions specific to your use case. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll open the floor for questions.